Hello, my name's Michael Conneely, and this video helps you understand the effects of the nodes changing sign in April of Rahu and Ketu, particularly as they manifest in the houses in your birth chart. It's part 3 of my series of blogs and videos all about understanding the nodes of the moon change sign. So the links to all the previous parts are in the April 2022 page of my Star Wheel Astrology website. So basically what we need to know is that, to summarise it shortly, Rahu transiting Aries, as Rahu does now, the North Node, creates a huge me first driven energy. And basically, Ketu, the South Node, transiting Libra, creates a critical energy that threatens our relationship, but if we use this energy properly, it will assist us developing a higher spiritual manifestation of our relationship. Now, this video talks about how it will manifest for all 12 signs as Ascendant and for all 12 signs where your moon is. But it only goes in for overall clarity. Please go to my accompanying blog post if you want the fuller detail, and get a reading from me if you want to hear all about the implications of the nodes of the moon changing sign in your life path now, in your future. The other thing to remember, of course, is that the nodes of the moon are the eclipse axis. They do carry an energy of destiny and fate. So basically eclipses occur now in Aries Libra, and they're particularly felt by us where there's tension in our life. It's like an earthquake. So where there's tension in the Earth's crust, the tension in the strata grows and grows and grows, and then it suddenly bursts with an earthquake or a tsunami. Similarly, eclipses are earthquakes in our consciousness, earthquakes in our physical life. And similarly, eclipses can raise up our buried shadow material, can raise up buried unconscious material, ideally in a healing way, but can be in a catastrophic way. So the big question on all this is what is the area of my life that will be especially affected by the nodes of the moon changing sign? So, to state this, we examine the houses in your birth chart that Rahu and Ketu are now transiting through, now that Rahu has entered Aries and Ketu has entered Libra. What is the house in your birth chart? What are the affairs of that house? Because houses are all about areas of our life. Now, for usual interpretation, one counts houses from the Ascendant, in Vedic astrology called the Lagna, as first house. And this is certainly valid for understanding how Rahu transiting Aries and Ketu transiting Libra will affect you now and for the coming 18 months. But absolutely do note also that we always need to count houses from our natal moon as well when we want to work out the effect of, well, Saturn and the nodes of the moon in particular. So the document is set out so that you can know what houses in your chart are affected from your Lagna, from your moon. What's the difference? Well, basically, houses counted from Lagna reveal how we will project ourselves in the world and act in the physical world. Whereas houses counted from the moon as ascendant reveal how our emotionally based consciousness and self will be manifesting in our life. Now, of course, you absolutely have to take into account if planets occupy or aspect Aries and Libra, but that is the subject of my final upcoming blog post and video in my series about the nodes of the moon change sign. And by the way, we also have to take into account that Rahu, the North Node, aspects not only the house he is in, the sign he's in, Aries, but Rahu also casts an aspect 5th and 9th houses from that. So Sagittarius and Leo will be affected in everybody's chart. And by the way, Rahu also casts a shadow forward into the next house he will move into. And so Pisces is feeling the Rahu enters Aries transit now, and will do more so, even though Rahu hasn't entered Pisces. So let's now look at the houses, the nodes of the moon, now fall in your birth chart. So if you have an Aries ascendant or an Aries moon, Rahu will be transiting your first house. And basically this will make you driven, self-centered and ambitious. The first house is the house of appearance, the life essence, the temperament, appearance, identity, vitality. But of course, Ketu is transiting the 7th house, always opposite. And this is the house of the spouse, of partnership, of compromise, and indeed business success or failure. So if you have Aries, ascendant or moon, your ambitions and drives will mushroom now. You will be driven by areas of dissatisfaction and frustration in your life. Obsession could take over your life if you are not careful. Watch out to purify your life. You'll generally be a bit more assertive, even aggressive, and more of a leader. Because Rahu's transiting your first house, it means Ketu's transiting your 7th house. And as I said, this energy could destroy your relationship unnecessarily. You could become more critical. You will become more me first and assertive. So remember, the energy flows and emotions you will experience must not easily melt down your relationship. Instead, they must be used as a spur and a guide to spiritual healing of your relationship, to loving discussion and sharing and joint work to make your relationship more spiritual and loving and devoted. Okay, secondly, let's look at what the position of the nodes of the moon mean for people who have Pisces ascendant or Pisces moon. So Rahu is transiting in these people's 2nd house, Aries. Ketu is transiting in their 8th house, Libra. Now the 2nd house is known as Dana, the house of wealth and communication, early childhood issues, family issues, value issues arising from family, and communication issues arising from that. The 8th house is known as the house of death, and we can work with 8th house energies in 2 ways. So through astrology and healing and psychology, etc., or through ignoring those possibilities and experiencing life meltdown, obstacles and scandal, etc. So the 8th house is about psychic experiences, past lives, legacies and longevity. It's about change, transformation and letting go. It's about death and length of life and the occult. So basically, Rahu transiting your second house, which is the case for Pisces ascendants and Pisces moons, can be an expansive drive to make money, can create issues with the mouth and teeth, and can make you more driven to communicate. But Ketu transiting your 8th house opposite can indicate developments in shared finances and inheritance, can be a wonderful manifestation of the development of your spiritual studies, of your esoteric and mystical or psychodynamic studies. Your psychism and sensitivity can increase. But health matters just might take a weird turn, so be aware of the possible need for alternative diagnosis and treatment. Thirdly, we come to Aquarius first house or Aquarius moon. So for these people, Rahu is transiting the 3rd house, Ketu is transiting the 9th. So to summarise and go for more detail to the blog post, the 3rd house is called the house of siblings, of creative prowess, of energy, communication, creativity, courage. And the 9th house is called the house of the father, and it's about religious teaching and higher learning, right action, unexpected luck. So Rahu is transiting your 3rd house of creativity. This, be open to making unique creative efforts in the coming 18 months. You'll feel stronger, you'll feel more competitive. Your relationships with siblings and neighbours could become more prominent, so make this for better rather than for worse. Now Ketu's transiting the 9th house, so watch out for father's health and well-being. Explore spiritual pathways and mystical techniques. Be open to spiritual breakthrough. Be open to conceptual breakthrough. Eclipses that will happen in Aries Libra will bring openings in the area of your spiritual awareness, and negatively be aware of and avoid cults and damaging spiritual institutions or movements or unfortunate spiritual teachers. This is a time when many will have to realise they're on the wrong spiritual pathway and they'll have to find a new right one. Okay, Capricorn Ascendant, Capricorn moon. Well, Rahu is transiting your 4th house, Ketu is transiting your 10th house. Now the 4th house is all about mother, mind, family and home. The 10th house is the house of career, honour, glory, renown. So with Rahu transiting your 4th house, Capricorn ascendant and moons could get some pretty driven developments in the issue of house and home. And eclipses here could cause sudden meltdowns in home situations and families. Ketu transiting your 10th house might lead to meltdown of your job, but ideally to your taking an ever more spiritual nature to your work. Okay, let's look next at Sagittarius ascendants and Sagittarius moons. So Rahu is transiting your 5th house and Ketu is transiting your 11th house. The 5th house is the house of children, creativity, romance and purva punya, past life merits. The 11th house is the house of gains, friendships, communities, making your gains in the most ideal way possible. So Rahu transiting your 5th house could drive you to want more fun and creativity and arts and more contact with children. You'll want to live in a more fulfilled way. But the other side of it is take care your children don't get involved in unfortunate Rahu-like associations. Take extra special care of your children in the coming 18 months and their health, well-being and connection if you have Sagittarius Ascendant or Moon. And Ketu in the 11th house could have the effect of unleashing your creativity and smashing life areas of this axis where you've been resisting change. Ketu transiting the 11th can make us unworldly. This can bring us spiritual gains. This can lead to collapse of financial gains. Issues around friends could involve meltdown or move to more spiritual dimensions now. Scorpio Ascendant or Scorpio Moon. So Rahu is transiting your 6th house, Ketu is transiting your 12th house. Well, the 6th house is the house of enemies, but positively it's the healer's house because, disease is an enemy, and the best of the 6th house learns to counter disease by becoming healers. The 12th house is the house of loss, squander, institutions, foreign countries, spiritual release. But it's also liberation and moksha. And of course it can be the intuitive healer and the psychic. So the highest expression of the nodes transiting the 6th, 12th house axis is actually for you to develop as an intuitive healer. The 6th house at its most positive is healing. The 12th house supremely includes the use of intuition. And this nodal axis is often found in intuitive healers. They are ambitious to conquer the intuitive realms so as to make sense of and heal the physical realm. So, Rahu transiting the 6th house can make you very energetic, but it can fuel your enemies. Beware problems with employees. Be very careful of any driven impulse to engage in lawsuits or legal cases. Become, in fact, the crafty warrior. Ketu in the 12th house at its best brings you openings for enlightenment. Dream work can be so helpful in enabling you to understand yourself and put yourself on a more appropriate path. People can think that dreams are of no consequence, don't amount to anything. But that's wrong. If you do dream work and make a regular commitment to writing down your dreams when you wake up, and then holding a separate session to go into your dream and let components within your dream speak for themselves, you will be amazed at the vastness of the meaning of your dreams. Okay, Libra as first house from Ascendant. In Libra's Ascendant or Libra Moon. So Rahu is transiting your 7th house, Ketu is transiting your 1st house. So the 7th house is basically about relationship, and the 1st house is appearance and how we assert in the world, identity and vitality. Rahu transiting your 7th house, Aries, can make you very ambitious for relationship. And this can be good if it's all understood and used to boost your existing relationship or properly find a new one. But it can be an extremely driven energy. It can be confrontative behavior in relationship. It can be promiscuous. Now, Ketu in Libra, your 1st house, can of course bring weakness, undermine, downfall, or more spiritual persona, can bring spiritual energy and presence. Guilts or blocks from past life may be surface to be dealt with. Above all, beware lack of confidence, poor boundaries and viewing yourself too negatively. Beware codependency. Be aware of the possibility for sudden meltdown in your persona and sense of self or your situation. So now we come to Virgo Ascendant or Virgo Moon. So Rahu is transiting your 8th house, Ketu is transiting your 2nd house. So as I said before, the 8th house can be sort of astrology, healing, the esoteric, the shamanic, or it can be downfall, scandal and collapse. It can be psychic experiences, sexual potency, transformation, death, length of life and the occult. The 2nd house is about wealth, communication, the mouth as a body part, family issues, value issues arising from those, and communication issues arising from family, arising from sense of value. Finding your voice. So Rahu transiting your 8th house, you Virgo ascendants and Virgo moons, well, this is a death and rebirth life phase. Finances need carefully watching. There can be a risk of downfall or false accusations. And Ketu transiting the 2nd house can cause childhood issues to arise, but for healing, and can force you to face any difficult issues of the value of yourself that you might have, and can bring health problems to the mouth area. Ketu transiting the 2nd can certainly create big financial meltdowns and reorganizations. So let's move on to Leo Ascendant, Leo Moon.